It's your girl Nancy Red, and this is season 3 of Mompreneurs, where each week we celebrate beautiful Black entrepreneurs who are also amazing moms. Now, I'm chatting with my guests about how they're killing it simultaneously as business moguls and moms. We're listening to their inspiring advice and incredible journeys. Now, my next mompreneurs are absolutely extraordinary in not only who they are as humans, but also as authors and creators. I'm talking with award-winning author Charnaie Gordon. She's a preschool educator and founder of the amazing nonprofit 50 States, 50 Books. She's also the mastermind behind Here We Read, a phenomenal social media channel that shares the best books and educational resources for kids. And she was actually just named one of the top 10 book influencer accounts on Threads. Okay, that's crazy. She's here with equally as impressive New York Times bestselling publisher and CEO of High Tree Publishing, Roda Ahmed. Now, these ladies are both dynamic in their own individual rights, but they teamed up to create an adorable book series that revolves around a darling girl named Etta. The first in the series is Etta Extraordinary. The second is Etta Extraordinary Goes to the White House, and Etta and these moms are just getting started. Roda and Charnaie are here to tell us about their incredible journey and also to inspire and encourage other moms to put their positivity on the printed page as well. Welcome, ladies. I love you.
Thank you. Oh my God, you're so amazing. Thank you for having us. We could listen to you all day. I'm like, and then.
Well,
Right?
because you guys are so inspirational. You guys are always, I feel like all of the women I interview, they're in the weeds actually doing this stuff. But when you actually sit and listen to all that you do, are you impressed by your own selves? You're laughing it off, but I'm actually asking the question. Charnaie, are you impressed by yourself?
You know, I never really thought about it, to be honest. You know, it's one of those things like you never really take the time, at least I don't take the time to kind of reflect on all of the things that you've done during your journey. So, but if you're asking me right now, am I proud of myself? Yes, I am.
Good.
Yeah.
Because you're always telling your kids, not only the children that you teach, but also your own kids, be proud of yourself. You're doing a great job. So that's what this is about. This is about letting you all know that you all both should be proud of yourself and you're doing a great job. Do you believe that, Rhoda? Do you think that you're doing a great job?
I do. I'm overly confident, grateful over myself. I'm kind of impressed at like, how did I end up here? How is this my life? How is this me? And just abundance and gratitude. Really, really. I'm just in awe of life and that we get to do this. And yeah, it's beyond my wildest dreams. So
and talk about that, Rhoda, because a lot of people might not know your story, right? You know, you talk about this is beyond my wildest dreams. I can't believe I'm here. And where you are is you're a New York Times bestselling author and publisher. Your books are important, not just in children's libraries, but also on college campuses. But when you were the age of the child that you write for usually in the early elementary school age, what was your life like? And did you see any of this coming?
Great question. So I was born in Somalia and I grew up in Norway and I loved books, like obsessively loved books. I'm one of 8 siblings, so our house had a rule that if you were reading, you didn't need to do dishes. So that's kind of how it started. I'm like, I'm reading, I don't need to do dishes. But then I actually really loved reading. And then my dad would take me to the library every Saturday. And then I would pick out a book and then we would go home and then I would read the book and then I would tell him about the book in order to go back the following Saturday. And we did this for years and years and years. And then I was always searching for like, if someone like me could be inside a book. Like, you know, it started with picture books of like, oh, like no one looks like me. So it was kind of like a little quiet search. But then fast forward, you know, middle school, my dad was like, wait, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then I told him I would love to write a book and have my name on the spine of a book. And then I kind of forgot about that dream. I went to college. I studied anthropology because it was about cultures and many languages. And and then I submitted my first novel and that novel became a Norwegian bestseller and it's in the same library me and my dad used to go. So I was more of I can't believe I dreamt it and I kind of believed it, but I didn't say it out loud. And then it happened. So now, fast forward another 20 years. Yesterday, I was in Crenshaw reading for 500 kids in an inner city school where I still see myself, right? Like they don't see themselves in books they read, and books are important, and we have the shared love for books. And just bringing Etta goes to the White House there, and they all got free books, which was amazing. And then just sharing that, it doesn't matter where you start because you don't know where you're going to end up. So I really do feel like it is beyond my wildest dreams. And I like, no one knows what we're capable of, right? So
No one knows. And it's because of incredible educators like Charnaie, who, when you were growing up, did you see yourself here with all of these incredible books behind your belt, with all of these incredible experiences, being such an influence, not just as an author, but also as a content creator, helping parents and kids alike? What was your take on where you were going to be when you were an adult, when you were a younger bookworm?
Yeah, so my story is a little similar to Rhoda's, but not really. But I am one of seven. Yeah, one of seven. And I was the bookworm of the family. Like none of my other siblings really loved to read as much as I did. And so I always had my face in a book. Unfortunately, we didn't have the privilege or the access to go to the library as often as I would have loved to. So when I went to the library, it was my school library. And I loved going to the library. I loved reading. My teachers all knew it. And I said when I was a child, I want to be a teacher when I grow up. And when I said it, I just kind of said it, not really thinking that I would eventually be a teacher because of the career path that I ended up choosing. But I said that when I was about 9 years old. Around the same time, that's when the Oprah Winfrey Show started coming on TV. And back then, she didn't have the Oprah's Book Club, but I knew that she loved to read. And so at that time, I said, one day I'm going to meet Oprah. I am going to take a picture with her. She loves books just the same way that I love books. And I saw myself in her. And I wasn't really seeing myself in the books that I was reading, like Rhoda said, but I saw myself in Oprah. So she was my ultimate role model and my source of inspiration. And I knew that she loved books just as much as me. So fast forward, I go off to college. I decided not to major in education because I was like, oh, teachers don't make enough money. And so I ended up choosing a more lucrative career, which I chose computer science. So I got my master's and my bachelor's in computer science. So I was a computer programmer for a number of years. While I was in the industry, I was having a few different issues because it's a very male dominated issue, male dominated field. And I had already started thinking about possibly doing something else, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So while still working full time, I started this blog on the side, and I said, well, okay, what can I start blogging about? And then the first thing that came to me was books, and specifically diverse books. And I chose that because at the time, this was back in 2015, my children were ages 1 and 2. And me and my friends, we all had kids like around the same time. And all my friends would always ask me, what are you reading? What are you reading? And so I was like, you know what? Let me just start writing about this. And I did. And so February 2015, started my blog, Here We Read, started talking about diverse books. Not a lot of people were doing it at the time. Fast forward, I learned how to monetize, make money, and turn it into a business eventually. Ended up leaving my job in computer science to become an author because publishers reached out to me, asked me to write books for them. So I quit my job in computer science and I said, this is it. I'm going to be an author. So fast forward to today, I have 8 published children's books, the ones that I wrote with Rhoda, as well as ones that I wrote on my own, others that I wrote with other author friends. And last year I made the decision to actually become a teacher. So it all kind of it all kind of came full circle for me. So that's my journey.
And isn't it a blessing to get to pursue your passion? Because when you were in college, you were like, I got goals. I'm not sure if being an educator can help me achieve. And you've
Right.
achieved your goals and you get to pursue your dream.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And now, I'm able to like supplement. I mean, I make a good amount of money being a teacher, but I'm also a content creator as well. So that's how
Yes, you just got flued out
Yes.
by Threads. I mean, that's really impressive. You're able to do it all, right? You're like the triple threat of, of publishing. Yeah, I'm an educator. I'm an influencer. I'm an author.
And I'll take care of your babies for you as well and teach them everything.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. And Rhoda, I mean, your children also inspired you with you started writing children's book after you had children, correct?
Yeah, so because growing up in Norway, there's not a lot of diverse books. And then we moved to America, and I'm like, there's a lot of brown people in America. There must be a lot of brown children's books. And then I was like baffled of, just it wasn't enough. Or it was, I mean, it was also, it wasn't the same. So, um, and then I read somewhere that a black woman went to space, and I had no idea. And I asked around, and everyone's like, "No, she didn't. We would have known." And then I couldn't find a book about her. So the first book I wrote was May Among the Stars, inspired by Mae Jemison, and that's how Charnaie was one of my first early supporters in that. And it kind
with her blog, Here We Read, with her, which turned from the blog to the Instagram to the Threads to the TikTok, all of these things, right?
these things. So
Yes.
and then to my and then I was searching for May for like 3-4 years. I'm like, where is she? Still alive? She doesn't have any social media presence. She was like, we kept sending books to like all the May addresses we found. And then eventually, now it's in its 24th printing. And a few years ago, I got to meet May and actually give her the book. And I was just crying, and all these kids held the book and were dressed up as astronauts, and it just felt like such a fulfilling, end of a journey, because at the end of the day, it's like you get to meet your heroes, and they get to grow up knowing about May, and just the impact that has. I won't know now, or we won't know, but just the fact that books are important and books are powerful. And when you see someone like you doing incredible things in books, and also there's only been 57 female astronauts, so that alone is also not a lot of women become astronauts, because it's like, mostly male dominated things. So yeah, the power of a book, of always searching for something in a book and then creating it and then finishing it, and then it's out in the world. It's beyond privilege.
Okay, so first and foremost, I have to ask, what was May's reaction when she met you? What did she say?
She was just like, this book, I see it everywhere. And then
Was she like, blow your nose, girl?
I just was like, I was not cute at all. And then she just said thank you. And then I said thank you for inspiring, because, I didn't know my children needed this book, because it came out of, like, again, I believe, and one of my favorite quotes is like the Toni Morrison quote of like, if there is a book you want to read but it hasn't been written, you must be the one to write it. Like, I had that quote around me my entire life as an adult. So it's always this whisper of like, but just do it. And I had no idea, because publishing in Europe and in America is two different things. You need an agent, and you need someone to advocate for you, and then you need a publisher. And like in Europe, you just write something, you have an address, and you send it away, and then you get a letter in the mail if they picked it up or they didn't. So so that whole journey too is like different. But yeah, and then it led me to do a lot of research on who the gatekeepers are, why isn't there enough books, diverse books, and why are there like, just a certain type of books that are just catered to brown and Hispanic and, Native American children versus all the other kids. So I just wanted to bridge that gap in like helping people that want to publish books and do it the same way I did May. And it's been so much fun. So much fun.
So much fun, and so many lives changed, so many great partnerships, which leads me to your partnership, right? So both of you are incredible on your own. How did you end up partnering for this delightful series that features Etta?
Yeah. Rhoda, you want to go?
Charnaie, you go.
Was it? And I'm thinking, wasn't it like, because Charnaie, everybody's always sliding into Charnaine's DMs. Rhoda, did you slide into her DMs?
No, it was actually the other way around. But
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, it was Charnaie wrote this. She reached out because we were friends online, and then she reached out because she had actually a memoir, a biography memoir of Etta Moten
Barnett.
for
Yep.
young readers. And then we jumped on a call, and then we just talked for hours and hours and hours. And then we talked about, like, my daughter is now in college, and her daughter is younger than my Madison. So we talked about like how our daughters like love Pinkalicious and Fancy Nancy and all these books, and I really love them too. And there's so many of them, and how the brown girl is always the sidekick. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could create like the same like character driven narrative with a girl who has like just so much freedom and beauty and boldness and expressiveness, and goes everything she does in like an extraordinary way, because our daughters love dress up and they love fancy things and they love big hats and shoes and pearls and all the things. And so we kind of sat down, and then we started crafting Etta, so inspired by her namesake, and then we kept the namesake, and then we just kind of like poured our souls into a book we wish we had for our daughters when they were little. And then introduced it to Harper, and they actually took it off the table, so it wasn't even, anyone else didn't even get a chance to look at it. So that's how Etta came about.
What made you reach out to her, Charnaie? What made you say, you know what, this is the individual that I trust with my idea? Because for those of you who don't know, Rhoda's not just an independent author, but also she created her own publishing company, which is a whole other can of worms, which is really impressive as a mompreneur. We'll get into it a little bit later. But what made you say, you know what, I have a lot going on, and this person's at my level. This is someone who I could work with.
Yeah. So at the time, I wasn't, I didn't have all the connections that I have now, like with the publishers and stuff. Yeah, I was getting books mailed to me from the publishers, but I didn't really know how to like get into the industry. And so I knew that Rhoda had her own publishing company, and I knew that I wanted to work specifically with a Black woman, and I wanted to give her the opportunity, if she was so kind enough to give me the yes. I wanted her to be the one to publish the book. So that's how I kind of decided to reach out to her. But then as we started talking, we were going to publish under High Tree, but then she said, you know what? I already have a connection with Harper Collins. And so that's how we ended up with Harper. So
Rhoda, let's talk about this from the business perspective, because one of the reasons that you started your own publishing company, High Tree Publishing, which is phenomenal and does incredible work, is because you were disillusioned at times with the shall we say, confusing world of publishing. Like you said, back in Europe, it was like, hello, I published author, I write letter, I get book published. Here, it's not so easy.
No. And also it's not, it's more than that too, right? Because it's like, it's, I mean, I don't even know where to start, but like, just to simplify it, it is, reading and choosing is such it's just such a taste, right? So it depends on what kind of taste you have. Like, I like, this is my favorite things to read, and then that's the kind of books I would want to publish, right? So when I was sitting at that meeting with Harper, first time I met them, and I sat there and I realized two things that was kind of like pivotal, that changed my life. It was no one that looks like me is at the table. And then two, they had no idea Black women went to space. So I was like, wow, like, so here, an immigrant girl that grew up in Norway that came to America only a few years ago know about this, extraordinary woman who's been to space, who everyone should know, because we know about a dog went to space, right? Like we know
That monkey.
yeah, we know
Right.
we know Laika went to space. We know about the Real Housewives of New York. We know like trivial in like knowledge that we shouldn't know. But then here, someone who's done like the epic, most extraordinary thing of a human can do, that left Earth on a spaceship and came back, like is not shared. And why is that? And so then, since I wasn't in the know of like how books are made, because usually a writer writes the books and the illustrator illustrates the book, and the publisher connects the writer and the illustrator, but actually they never talk. So a publisher is in charge of making, so if I'm a children's book publisher, I'm in charge of the whole children's book. So I pick a roster of illustrators and a roster of writers, and then I pair up what I think, according to my taste, is going to work. But here arises the problem, because your children, they always get the books and they always get to be the lead because they look like you, right? Like, so I'm creating something of out of someone that looks like my children, so that's why these books look the way they do, right? And then from a publisher, the same is also true. So if you live in New Hampshire and you married your high school sweetheart and your kids are blonde and you're blonde and you live in the suburbs, like, of course, then the character in those books are going to look the same as your family or your immediate, so there, it's not ill intentional. It's just not, I don't think you're mindful of your taste.
Oh, 100% agree. And both of you know, but our audience might not. One of my books is a children's book called Bedtime Bonnet.
Yes.
And when I went to publish to sell it, they were like, "This is a great story." And then someone said very hushed to me, "But I just have to ask you a question." And I was like, "Oh my God, what is this question?" "Are you sure Black people wear bonnets to sleep at night? Because I just have never heard of this before."
Yeah, exactly.
And I literally said, I was just like, "I just don't think you have a close enough Black friend."
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I think you need to have more Black people in your life. And at that point, they were like, "Okay, I get it. We're moving into this, fine." And as we see, the bonnet has become more ubiquitous because children's books are where a lot of dreams grow and blossom, right?
Exactly.
Like with these things grows awareness and comfort with life. And did you see that once you went with Harper, you published the first 2 books in the Ella franchise? Have you seen people react and grow their idea of who can be a leading little girl?
Both yes and no, because
Right.
at the same time, you would go with a major publisher to get a major reach, but then you do the same amount of work you would do if you went with an independent. Because at the end of the day, this industry goes back to default of like, you do the promotion, you do the work, you do the budgeting, you do that, which is amazing too. Like, they are both amazing and they're both true. But at the same time, it's also just creating books that look, because before you know how to read, you look at pictures, and
Right.
a picture, that it's a picture of someone that looks like you and your grandma, and they're doing ordinary things. Like Etta's just going on a field trip, Etta's just going on a school play. Like, all kids do that. So it's not specifically for Black and brown kids, but if you want to change the narrative of diversity, create books for all kids. They just look different. The main character looks different, so kids get to grow up with books that looks like their friends and the world we live in. So that was the biggest shift of like, oh, it's whoever tells the story holds the pen. So we just need different people to tell different stories, but it doesn't always need to be the struggle and the hardship. It could just be a good night book and an ABC book and a mommy and me book and a boy with a dog. Like, I was.
Oh, I no, 100%. And Charnaie, I think one of the interesting things is we've talked about this for a really long time. I mean, Deneen Milner wrote an article for the New York Times in an op-ed, like, Black kids need more than Harriet Tubman.
Oh, yes.
And that was actually when, it's like, okay, come on, can we, like, and I actually, as an author, before these books, tried to sell books on, like, butts and animals. And they were just like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We just want to write books about kids doing everyday things that other kids do that just happen to be Black, right? But it's the same thing. Like, we're not, and it's not, and that's the thing. It's like, we were faced with the challenge of our competition was Fancy Nancy. Um, and we couldn't, as for our book, Etta Extraordinary, we couldn't make Etta too much like Fancy Nancy. And so there were a lot of changes that we had to, well, they wanted us to make, but Rhoda and I stood our ground and we said, well, why can't a little Black girl also wear oversized shoes just because Fancy Nancy also wears oversized shoes? Like, does Fancy Nancy have the trademark on wearing oversized shoes? Right. So we stood our ground, and we fought for exactly what we wanted. We said, well, this is not Fancy Nancy. This is Etta Extraordinary. And we don't have to make the comparison between the two.
No, they can both exist on the shelf together, and they do, right? So
yes.
So that's the beauty of a book too. It's just like you won't know its impact yet. You know, it's like it comes later. And then yesterday I asked the kids, like, if you were president or if you were in charge of the world and you get one rule and you get to decide what that rule was, what would that be? And then their answer just like, literally, I almost try not to cry because I didn't want to traumatize them. I was just like, ooh, they were just like, we just want to make sure everyone has free books. There's no homeless people on the streets, that everyone has food, that our school has dessert. Like these kids are amazing. The world is in such a great place. So what a privilege it is to just like add a little book to it.
I love it. And there's so many people listening. I mean, one of the biggest questions I get, I know y'all get it, is how can I do this? You know, do you encourage mothers? Like, it's so interesting. I always ask this question to my mompreneurs. Do you encourage people to get into your industry? And depending, sometimes they're like, nah, don't do it. Don't do it, sis. Do you encourage other mothers to try and enter the world of publishing children's books?
Absolutely. I get asked all the time, how do I do this? How do I publish a children's book? And I'm always willing to help. I might not always have the answers, but at least maybe I can give them a little bit of advice and point them in the right direction. So I absolutely, we need more. We need more of us in the industry writing books, not just for our children, but for all kids.
Yeah,
absolutely. The number of non-Black kids now wearing bonnets,
right,
or at least not asking questions at the sleepover.
Yeah,
what's that? You know what it is,
right?
What about you, Rhoda? Because what's amazing is some of them could possibly even be published by you one day.
I mean, I'm working on a online course where I literally just like give you the template. I'm gonna give you the template because the requests are beyond. Like, I wish I could help everyone, but I'm just gonna say there's never ever in the history of humanity been a better time to write and publish a book than right now. It has never been easier. It's never been more resources available. There's never been a world more connected where you can reach out to an illustrator across Earth and connect and illustrate and do it together. So the industry of like a traditional publisher is in such a fun change right now because it's an industry of change, and I can only compare it to music because my husband's in music, but it's what happened in the record industry where people and streaming came, right? So an artist could make music on their computer and then just load it up to their SoundCloud and Spotify. And that's what is happening in the children's book market right now. It's publishers are actually looking for people that are self-published on these Amazons to give them contracts so they can publish with them. Huge publishers are shrinking, firing people, reorganizing, restructuring because you don't need 10 people to make one book. You need you need a writer, you need an editor, you need an illustrator, and then an art director, and all these people you can find online on all the platforms, and you can pay whatever fee you have or can, or sometimes you can do it just as a split, like, hey, I don't have any cash, but I would love to make this book. Hey, I'm an illustrator, I'm at a job, I would love to make it with you. There's never ever been a better time. You really don't need Hightree or like you don't need a publisher. as you did 10 years ago. So it's a shifting market and it's so exciting. And please, everyone who has a book dream, do it. Do it.
In particular, do it because the more your voice is heard, the more normalized it becomes, because it's a time of change, but it's also a time of conflict. I mean, your sweet book, Ella, it goes to the White House, was a dream that we almost saw in reality, right?
Yeah,
And
Right.
and also we're dealing with a lot of just cancellations, book bans, and it's something that all of us on this panel have dealt with personally. Rhoda, none more so much as you. Talk to us about how you've dealt with these types of situations and why it's important that in the light of this, even in modern times, right, that people put their voice out even more.
I know it's been really wild because May is banned in, I think it's almost 40 states. And I get emails from teachers and parents that can't have the book. And I literally will send a book signed. I'll do an author visit on Zoom for free. I'm like, because, I don't want to be disheartened, because I also feel sometimes conflict and ban distract you from the joy of creating, because then now all of a sudden you're not in the space or the energy of creation, you're in the space of like fighting something, and I don't want to be in that space.
And what's wild is a funhouse mirror. This is one of the most celebrated, acclaimed children's books across the board. It has nothing to do with diversity. Why is it banned in 40 states?
I have no idea. I mean, because the school board can ban a book without, I mean, you have to have access to the reason. But there was one that I was really particularly extremely proud of. It was in Pennsylvania, and the students actually went on a strike. So the students went on a strike, and then they overturned the ban. So, people have power as well. So it's not something that, yes, it's banned, meaning what? You can read it, that teacher and that school can read it. But then equally, there are thousands in other schools that are reading it and are celebrating it. So I really do feel protective of the joy of still creating. And there's still kids that want to go to space because of May. And it's a book about, if you can dream it, if you can believe it and work really hard, anything is possible. That goes for all kids. And all of
it goes for all kids. It's the
All
theme in
kids.
Ella. And also Charnaie, I want you to weigh in because, you take a stand in your own work. You have been an excellent beacon of light and inspiration because, yes, you are an influencer, but you're not going to be influenced by just anybody. Talk to us about the decisions you've made in light of recent societal events and how that affects the way you pursue the content you choose to create and share.
Right. So one of the decisions that I made, I was really, not to get political at all, but the day after Election Day, I was really depressed. I was really sad and hurt. But I just decided at that point that I want to, for a time, until I'm ready, I just want to celebrate Black authors right now. I feel like we need each other. I mean, I've always felt that way, but I feel like over the next 4 years, and who knows what's going to happen over those next 4 years, but we need each other. We need community. And so I have made it my mission to celebrate books by Black authors for the time being. That's who I want to champion right now. That's just the space I'm in. I still do want to celebrate all diverse and inclusive books, but that election really kind of showed me that we really all are all that we have right now. And with the way that the world is going to be, like, we don't know what's going to happen. But I just feel like it's really important to build community, both online and then locally where you live.
I think that's really important and powerful. And your support of Bedtime Bonnet is one of the reasons it did so well. And Rhoda, like, again, all of us are in this together, playing the roles that we can play. Your support as an independent creator, but also as a publisher, is key. And also just the wisdom that both of you share about all aspects of this is so important. And I have to make sure that I ask you before we leave, because this is not just about what you've done. but it's also about where you're going. So I want both of you to participate in my favorite segment in
Okay.
this series called Mompreneurs Manifestation. And I'll
Okay.
ask each of you, starting with Rhoda, what are you trying to make happen? What are you trying to manifest right now? What is coming up down the pipeline? What are you hoping comes down the pipeline? And how can listeners help to bring it and nurture it into the universe for you?
Oh, I love that. This is so nice. This whole year, I've worked on a huge project and I haven't been this soul centered, excited about something that she's been with me for almost 10 years. And I was like, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. And eventually, just kind of like May, just like, no, it doesn't exist. Like, she needs to come. So, yeah, so I'm working on for next year, fairy tale princess, a proper, all out, beaming, beautiful Princess Noor and the Northern Lights. It's the title, and that's all I can share. But I really feel I want to see little kids all over the world wearing her princess dress.
Oh, I love that. That's so wonderful. And are you publishing it through High Tree?
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see. Then we'll do a follow up next year.
My manifestation and my prayer for next year is that we all tap into all the light that's in us and around us. And I think with light you fight darkness. So
I love that. I love that. All right, Miss Gordon, what about you? What is your mompreneur manifestation?
Yeah, so in January of 2025, I actually have two things happening. I have another picture book called Black Joy that's coming out on January 7th. That's published by Baker and Taylor, which is under Quarto Kids publishing company. So that's coming out. But the thing that I'm really excited about, and then the thing that I would love to manifest is I have a set of flashcards coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Also on the same day, January 7th. And the title is the Young Historians Club. So the Young Historians Club is an interesting story. I had this idea for flashcards about 3 or 4 years ago. And I just didn't really know where to start. So I had been working with an illustrator. She's actually based out in California. And I really liked her style. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, I want to do an educational set of flashcards. Will you be my illustrator? And she's like, yes, I would love to. She's up and coming. She's never done anything before. So her and I started working on it together just on our own. It was a real grassroots project. I wrote all the text. She did all the illustrations. And because she lives out in California, she lives next to a printer. She took care of all the printing and all of that.
Amazing.
I packaged them up and we started just selling them on Etsy. Not really thinking anything of it. So every time we put them up for sale on Etsy, they would sell out within 24 hours. So I was like, yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know.
So we did. The first set was it was just a Black History set of educational flashcards. So we did it 3 more times. Every time we put them up, they would sell out in 24 hours. So I was like, I think we have something here. So I pitched it to Uncommon Goods. They brought 100 sets of cards. They sold out immediately. So then at the time, I didn't have an agent or anything like that. But by this time, I had an agent and I was just sitting on the flashcards. And I said, you know what? Let me pitch this to my agent and see if she would shop it around to a publisher. So anyway, she loved them. And she said, okay, let's pitch them to a publisher. Publisher loved them. They bought 2 sets, a Black History set that comes out in January. And then the second one will come out in 2026. And it's going to be like Asian American and Pacific Islander set of flashcards.
That's amazing. And who is the publisher and where can people pre-order?
So the publisher is Union Square, which is affiliated with Barnes & Noble. So they're going to be in Barnes & Noble stores nationwide. And I'm really excited about it. But I also want this to I feel like the Young Historians Club, we could do so much with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm seeing a Disney show.
Yeah.
I'm claiming it in your space.
Me too. That'll be amazing.
But I mean, I'm thinking like pajamas and, you know, puzzles and like all of these things, and it's a really fun way for kids to learn history. And I just want to manifest that this really kind of blows up into something better than what I can imagine.
I love that.
Well, I love both of these things. Tell us, okay, so they can get the cards in Barnes and Noble. Tell us where everyone,
and they can pre-order them now.
No, tell us everywhere with Charnaie first, and then Rhoda, where can they find you and all your books and your Black Joy book to pre-order? We know we can get the flashcards in Barnes & Noble starting in January, but tell us everything else and all your social handles.
Okay, so everywhere I'm online, I am on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. My name is Here We Read, and that's here, the word here. We is spelled with 2 E's, and then read, Here We Read. My blog is hereweread.com, and pre-ordering the books. So yes, you can pre-order Black Joy right now, anywhere where books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop, all the places. And the same thing with the Young Historians Club flashcards. Pre-order online, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the places.
Rhoda, where can we find you and all your amazingness?
I am on Instagram. I try to go on there a little more often. I am working on it. It's a whirl, but it's really nice. It's at Roda World, and you can find me at rodaworld.com or at High Tree Publishing, one word.com, or High Tree Publishing, also on Instagram. Nancy, thank you. Can you share with us what you're working on?
Yes.
Oh, I am good. Like, I will share with you all. These people don't need to hear anything about me anymore. We will talk. We will have a group. First of all, Rhoda and I live in the same city. This is ridiculous. Charnaie was just here getting flued out, but she was only here for 48 hours. So, but we will reconvene offline, and I will tell you everything because nobody cares about me right now. But my last question, I have to know what's next for. I got to know what's next for Ella. What's next
for Etta?
Sorry, I'm like, cut that out, Jose. Sorry. But I gotta know what's next for Etta.
Etta, we'll see. We wrote 10 books, so we have.
You've already written 10 books.
Yes. So depending on if the publisher want to do more, we'll see. But we have Etta's pearls. She has these magical pearls she got from her grandmother. We had Etta's first sleepover. So Etta's Halloween party. Girl, we got so many Ettas, so we pick one. Which one you want, we'll do that one.
And I love the agency that you have. You're just like, if they don't want to do it, I got my own publishing company. We gonna do it. We gonna do it. So,
and one of the things that I wanted to share earlier that I was a train of thought, but it was letting go of also always wanting other people to do something for you, because we're living in a time, and I think being a mother has taught me that, right? That, like you as a mother, you mother yourself and then you mother your children. But at the end of the day, you start with you. So I just want whoever's listening to know that you have the power. So if you want to be a writer, it's in you. It's not something someone else have to do for you. Like, the story is in you to create, and it's in you to find your illustrator and make that dream come true.
Yeah, I love it. You ladies are such a great example of that. Charnai's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm sliding these DMs. I'm seeking out these illustrators. I'm sending some emails. We don't figure this out. Okay. That's just how it is. That's why you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Wait, can I share one more thing?
You are incredible.
Nancy, can I share one more thing?
You may share one more thing.
Okay. So I just wanted to share that, remember I was talking about Oprah, and I said when I was 9 years old that I will meet her one day. Well, I just want to bring it all full circle. I met Oprah and I took a picture with her.
And you didn't just take a picture with her. What was she holding?
She was holding a copy of Etta Extraordinary Goes to the White House. Yes.
Which is incredible. And the doll.
And the doll.
This is what's great about it. So, like, anything is possible because this is Dreams Enchanted, right? Yes. So what we're going to do is all of y'all are going to go to Here We Read, and you will see Oprah, Charnaie, and Etta right there all together because it's an inspiration to everyone who's trying to figure out how to make it happen. And Rhoda and Charnaie made it happen for themselves. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
Nancy.
so much, Nancy. You are such a bright light in our lives.
We love you.
Oh, I love you all so much too. And I love all of you for listening. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Mompreneurs. As a reminder, a brand new episode goes live each Monday on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit urban1podcast.com to learn more. That's urban1podcasts.com. Mompreneurs is brought to you by the Urban One Podcast Network and MadameNoire. Created, produced, and hosted by me, Nancy Red. Executive produced by Allison McGovna and Tanya Hoffler-Moore. Produced and edited by Jiminique Miller.